Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Golf and Politics. I'm not in the studio. I'm in my truck with our trusty producer, Jordan.
Hello, guys.
Jordan, thanks for joining me today. We're heading to Bentonville, Arkansas. So why are we going to Bentonville, Jordan?
You texted, was it yesterday?
Yeah.
That you texted me?
I thought this might be a good idea for a show. Why not, you know?
Yeah, you texted me and it was like, hey, I'm going to Arkansas for a golf lesson. Could you come and see if we can record some content?
I think the real origination from this comes from my wife, who says, why on earth do you have to drive all the way to Bentonville, Arkansas for a golf lesson? Isn't there somebody that can teach you to play golf in Tulsa? And so, yeah, let me get into why we're driving to Bentonville just to take a golf lesson. I am blessed to have a teacher here in Tulsa named Maggie Roller. Shout out to Maggie. She's at Cedar Ridge Country Club. She's a phenomenal teacher. And I have never taken lessons in my entire life. I was a self-taught golfer, and maybe we'll get into more of that later. But I could barely afford to play golf growing up. I had to work at a public golf course, and I just figured it out. And so, you know, you develop bad habits through the years, and there was no professional coach. Even when I played in college, our golf coach was not a swing coach. So he was never teaching us the golf swing, you know, working more a little bit on course management. And heck, my first golf coach in college I knew more about golf than he did. So he wasn't going to necessarily be helpful. But anyway, I went to Maggie because I took a lot of years off of playing golf. I did not play seriously for about 10 years, where I played just a few times a year. And my game just wasn't nearly as good as I expected it to be. And my handicap got all the way up at one point to a 9 handicap. The highest has been since I was probably like 14 or 15 years old.
I would kill for a 9 handicap.
I played a lot of golf when I was a kid, a lot of golf. So anyway, got to a 9. I was very frustrated. I hitting a lot of shots out of bounds, very wild swing. And I went to Maggie and she started working with me. And really, when I started working with her, I think my handicap was hovering around 7. And this was late last year. And she got me in with Tracy Phillips for one lesson. Tracy's a legendary golf instructor in Tulsa. It was actually, I don't believe he's teaching as many lessons as he used to because he's trying to make it on the senior tour. Last year at 62 years old, he qualified for the PGA Championship, which is wild. And so now I think he's in the second stage of Q school for the Champions Tour. But Maggie and Tracy had a great lesson with me, realized I was incredibly too steep, started working with me on some drills to shallow out my golf swing. And then I started taking lessons with Maggie on a regular basis. And I got significantly better. I mean, I went from shooting a lot of rounds in the 80s to shooting a lot more rounds in the high 70s. Still making a lot of big mistakes, not as consistent as I should be. And this past summer, Maggie suggested that I get in with this coach over here in Arkansas named Philip Walker, who we're going to see today. He owns and operates Back Nine Golf in Bentonville. He's from Australia and played golf at the University of Arkansas. Heck of a golfer himself. And he teaches a lot of the Division I players in and around, you know, Kansas, Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma area. People fly in from all over the country to take lessons with him. And Maggie said with my speed that he was a coach that could really help me. And so this will actually be my 3rd lesson with Philip. And the thing that we are working on the most is not just shallowing the golf swing for the sake of shallowing the golf swing, but getting a functional golf swing that works with my body type. The way I'm built, I am not built to hit a draw. I'm built to hit a fade. And so we're focused on hitting solid fades. We've been working a lot on trajectory. I was hitting my irons incredibly too high, and hitting more fairways and making sure that I have a one-way miss. That I may miss a fairway to the left only because I aimed too far left, but I'm not going to stand up to a tee box and hit a big snap hook. You know, I may slice it too much, but I'm not gonna hook it. And so we've been working on that a lot. I've had some success. In fact, in the month after my first lesson with Phillip, I shot the lowest round in my entire life. I shot a 66, a 5 under par at Meadowbrook Country Club, made 7 birdies that day. Just everything was going right for the most part. Just one of those days. But then I followed it up the very next day with an 89 at Prairie Dunes in Kansas. So, the consistency has not been there. And what I really want to hone in with Phillip on is 2 things today. It's a 2-hour, we have a 2 hours blocked off with him. Number 1, Phillip, I've got to get more consistent. I've got to, when I'm in the middle of a round and things go sideways fast, how can I reset, and what is the swing thought that I need to have to get the ball back into play? And this past week, I was fortunate to be invited on a trip to Pinehurst with one of our vendors for our company, and just a fantastic trip. We played Pinehurst number 10 on Tuesday of last week, and I shot 72. Incredible. I had 5 birdies that day, and really the only reason I shot 72 is because the greens were tricky, and I got myself into a couple of tough spots on the putting greens. I actually was putting for birdie and ended up chipping for bogey. If that tells you, I putted it completely off the green. I did that twice in 1 week at Pinehurst. So we're going to talk about putting with Phillip today too. Some of that is, as you know, down at Pinehurst, the greens can be a little tricky. But too many 3 putts, that's where my bogeys and double bogeys came from. And I actually only had 1 double bogey when I putted off the green. But yeah, I shot 72, played way better than I expected. I hit 11 fairways and I hit 15 greens in regulation. It's as good as I can hit it probably. So I'm thrilled, right? The next day, I hit it well again at 10 fairways, 13 greens. I shot 76 because of 2 really stupid mistakes that I made. But 4 over par on that golf course. I was not upset with that, thrilled. And then I got to play Pinehurst number 2, where they played the U.S. Open. And I had no golf swing, man. I mean, the golf swing left me. I kind of sliced my first tee shot, somehow made par from the waist area. I sliced my second tee shot. I made an unbelievable 9-iron out of the trees and knocked it to 8 feet, missed the putt for birdie, but made par. Then the third hole, I almost drive the green at Pinehurst number 2. I mean, I hit a bomb of a drive. And I was in the little waist area right by the green, and I hit it a groove too low, went over the green, down over the back, 70 yards for my third shot when I was literally only 15, 20 yards off the green. And made a double bogey there, and I just never recovered. I didn't hit a single fairway until the 18th hole. And so my golf swing just wasn't there. I kept having this big miss to the right, and no matter what I was doing to try to fix it, I could not fix it. So that's my big goal for today with Phillip. Phillip, how do we hone in these mistakes? I don't want to hit a ball 100 yards right. That can't happen, and when I'm consistently hitting it right, what do I need to do to fix that? Because I can feel that I'm doing something wrong. I just can't seem to find the swing thought to get it right when mentally I'm hitting bad shot after bad shot.
Yeah. Kind of I grew up playing basketball. So the basketball players are the free throws, right? You have the same motion. So what do you go back to when you're shooting? How do I get back to the basic essentially?
Right. When I shot 72 that day, I had a couple bad swings, but I immediately got back to hitting it well. Mindset was great, and the swing was on plane, and I'm hitting it on the screws time after time. That Thursday round last week at Pinehurst where I shot 89, I mean, it was fairly miserable, man. I just could not get the ball in play. Now, and what's crazy is I'm having the time of my life because I'm playing a U.S. Open golf course with some of my best friends, and I'm so excited to be there. Yet I just felt miserable in a sense of, this is my chance to play Pinehurst number 2, and I'm not really playing the golf course. I'm just chasing a golf ball around this place, hitting it out of the pine straw, trying to recover. It was not as fun as it could have been. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And so I don't know if you said earlier, but how long? So you started taking lessons how long ago?
Last November.
So
13 months ago.
And so had you taken lessons before that? Or is this
never?
So it's been about a year of you taking lessons, and this is your first time doing it, right?
This is my first time taking lessons on a consistent basis. I'd like to do more lessons with Phillip. It's not easy to always drive 2 hours to Arkansas. But the sacrifices you make for this addiction are incredible.
Yeah. And so how often do you take lessons? So how often are you?
I try to get in with Philip once a month. And I still work with Maggie too. I mean, even though Maggie wants Philip being the person that's working on my swing, usually Maggie comes to these lessons with me too, because teachers like to go with other teachers sometimes and learn from them. So she often goes. The weather ended up being great today here in Tulsa, we're not in Tulsa anymore, but here in Northeast Oklahoma, it's a good weather day. So she's going to be teaching lessons herself all day. So she couldn't end up coming. But I try to get over and see her, and she knows what Philip's been teaching me, so she can correct certain things that I'm working on.
Yeah.
But I try to get over and see Philip once a month, once every 6 weeks when I can.
And people like myself can't always take lessons. And like you said, most of your life you didn't take lessons.
Yeah.
For me, I watch, and a lot of my friends that are into golf watch social media clips where people are giving tips on golf swings, correcting your swing, talking about like the shallowness and setup and things like that. So what are your thoughts on social media golf tips, YouTube golf tips, things like that, as opposed to or in substitute of actual golf lessons? Benefits, drawbacks, what are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, look, I think if you can't afford, if you can't afford golf lessons, I couldn't afford golf lessons as a child or even as a college student or even early in my career when I'm trying to get out of debt and raise a family, and I couldn't afford it. And so when I was growing up, there was no YouTube. I didn't even have a cell phone until I was in college. Like, I think I was a junior in college where I had my first cell phone. So we didn't have YouTube, but we didn't have a bunch of videos to look at. But when I was a kid, the Golf Channel, I remember, I think I was like 14 years old when the Golf Channel got on our cable network. So I started watching the Golf Channel. Then I worked at the golf course. They paid me $2 an hour cash under the table and pretty much anything I could take from the clubhouse. Like, eat as many candy bars as you want, as many hot dogs, and you can take all the old golf magazines if you want them, So like, I had every golf magazine there could be, and I would just read through that and learn different things about the grip. I would experiment out on the course, out on the range, and I just taught myself. Back then, I hit a big sweeping hook off the tee because that's all I could figure out how to do from watching different things.
Yeah.
And I just pieced it together and made it work for me. When I went to college, my buddy and I would look at magazines, and he would kind of work with me on golf swings. Friend of the program, Casey Lang, he helped me a lot with my golf swing in college. But yeah, we didn't have simulators. Today you're going to see a lot of technology in my lesson. Everything we do is tested and measured. We're looking at every angle. We're looking at all the ball speed, club speed, spin rate. We're looking at all these things and making tweaks based on the numbers. We didn't have any of that back then.
Yeah.
We just went out and tried to figure it out. And so I think you can still figure it out today. But I remember when I was playing my best in college, I didn't listen to anybody but Casey. I listened to Casey about my golf swing because I think if you have too many voices in your head, too many people giving you ideas, you're not really getting any good feedback. I think that you have to listen to one person. So even that applies to YouTube or Instagram or wherever you're getting your golf content from. Find somebody that you like and listen to them and try to follow up. And one thing to be aware of is not every body is created equal. Not everybody swings the same way. I think about my father and I. Like, we have a similar build, he's my father. He has to swing tremendously different than I do because he's missing multiple vertebrae, right? He's had spinal fusions, and so his turn has to be completely different. He can only take it about halfway back. That's all his body will allow him to do. So if he tried to implement everything that Phillips teaching me, it would be a disaster. Not to mention, he's using wildly different equipment than I'm using based upon the kind of speed that he can generate versus the speed I can generate.
Yeah. So your main tip is find one person. So if you have a social media, like an Instagram creator or something that you like watching, stick to their videos, their tips.
Yeah, stick to one person's tips. Don't get too many voices in your head trying to change everything constantly. And then whatever it is you're working on, get a little tripod, set up your iPhone, and take a lot of video and slow it down and make sure that you're doing the best you can to get it into the right position. A lot of times, Philip or Maggie will give me something to work on, and I go and I put it on film at the driving range, and I think I'm doing exactly what they told me to do. And then I look at the video, and I'm like, that's the same old swing. Like, I'm back to my same bad habits. It feels like I'm doing the right thing, but I'm not. Or other times, I'll feel, even watching a video, I'll look at it and be like, yeah, I think this is good. And I'll send it to Maggie, and she's like, no. And she'll draw a little diagram on it or mark it up for me and like, see, there's where the problem is. That's what you need to tweak.
Yeah. Good. So you're a big weightlifter, and on the drive when I was going to meet you this morning, I was thinking about our podcast, and you talked about all the places that you played golf.
Yeah.
Said you played at over like 50 different courses this year.
Yep.
And you're hoping to do like 100 next year. How do you track all that? Do you keep like a journal or something? And do you use that just for like trips and courses, or do you track stats? Like, what do you keep a golf journal, and what type of stuff do you or do you want to keep in it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Basically, since I was a little kid, because my grandfather did this, who's the one who introduced me to the game of golf, he collects a logo golf ball from every golf course he's ever played. And I do the same thing. And so I've got, I think I've got 400 logo golf balls.
Wow.
Over 400 golf courses.
That's crazy.
And so I've got a ball for every place, and I've got them in display in my office, and I've got them in jars and got them everywhere. And every ball tells a story, and remember through that. But I also have a lot of scorecards, not very many though. I've lost some of my scorecards through the years. And then over the last decade, I've been terrible about keeping scorecards. I have every scorecard from every hole-in-one I've ever had, 3 of them. They're all framed up in my bonus room.
Yeah.
So I have those, but yeah, a lot of scorecards I didn't keep. And a lot of it's because I started using an app to track my scores when I'm out on the golf course. Or sometimes I'm playing and I'm not the one actually keeping scores, somebody else keeping the scores, and then I would enter the score into the system after and just remember what they were. So I have electronically every round I've played, I think, for the last 6 years or so in an app, which is nice to have. I've also started, this is a new thing for me, I've started collecting a bag tag. I just started this about a month ago. Because I had some bag tags. Because you go to certain places and they just give you a bag tag. So I had some bag tags, and I've started collecting those because I'm going to be putting up a golf and politics Christmas tree in my office.
Okay.
I've got a bunch of old political buttons I've collected, political memorabilia, and I've tied some string on them and turned them into Christmas tree ornaments. And then the bag tags are great Christmas tree ornaments. So I bought, a bag tag from every place I played down in Pinehurst this last time. So I'll collect those as well. But the one thing that I really want to do well in 2025 is journaling. I started to do a golf journal this year, and I just was not consistent with it. I would be consistent with it for a week, and then I wouldn't journal for a month. I'd like the first night in Ireland, I journaled, and then I didn't journal the rest of the trip, because you go out to pubs and then you just forget about it, and then you're rushing to get out the door. I really would like to do a better job of taking at least 5 minutes after every round, sitting down and making some notes about what I'm thankful for in the round, what I did well, and maybe one thing that I need to improve on, and maybe like one great thing about a relationship that was improved on the golf course, just something like that. And then just keep the scorecards tucked in there, and keep those journals. And as much golf as I play, I'll probably need one every quarter. But I think it'd be great to go back and start looking through that and seeing where I've really improved from an attitude perspective, from a swing perspective, from a course management perspective, and then also be able to reflect on some of the great relationships and stuff and achievements out on the course. So yeah, I plan in 2025 to do a better job of that. And then even times like today, one thing I should do tonight is go back and journal about the lesson and make a plan of, okay, these are the drills I really need to work on, and schedule them in and make a practice plan to do it over the next week. Because some of the times the things he's going to give me to work on, I can work on that in my garage without a golf club. There's certain exercises and things that I need to do that will help my golf swing that are not as fun as just going out, hitting some balls or playing golf. but there's no excuse not to do them 5-10 minutes a day.
Yeah. So also with we're talking about improving your game. For those that can take lessons, a little bit of advice in there. People that aren't taking lessons can afford those. But what about someone that's not, like, they've never played golf? They want to get into it. They're not really sure how. I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit with Heber in his episode, and I think a little bit with Mark Bender about, different entries into golf. How does someone get into the game of golf? What advice would you have for someone that wants to get into golf?
That's a great question. Last night I was with a client for a meeting, one-on-one, and at the end of the meeting, he's like, I got a weird question for you. It has nothing to do with my political future, what I want to run for office for and all that. He said, but, you're really into golf and you've got this podcast, and I really want to learn to play golf. I mean, and this is a man who's never picked up a stick in his life. I mean, he's never swung a golf club, never played a round of golf. And he's like, I just think it would be a great game for me to learn. And I asked him the same way I ask candidates when they tell me they want to run for the state senate. I'm like, why in the hell do you want to run for the state senate? I think I asked him, say that, why in the hell do you want to play golf? Because I said, it can be a harsh mistress. I'm just warning you. And it can be an expensive mistress. And I said, that all being said, I think it's the greatest game in the world, and I think you should play. A lot of that's tongue-in-cheek, obviously. I said, but if I were you and I'm playing golf for the first time in my life, I wouldn't listen to anybody like me. I would go to, like, he lives close to a golf course called Kicking Bird in Edmond. It's a great municipal golf course. They've got some great teachers. They have a great practice facility. I said, I would go there. I would get a pack of lessons from one of the reputable pros there and say, look, I've never played golf before in my life. I don't even know what a golf club is. Teach me everything from scratch. And I said, let them build your grip correctly. Let them build your posture correctly. Like, get the foundations built, and then get a practice plan coming out of each lesson and work on it. No different than my mom taught piano lessons for 30 years, okay? The students that were her best students were the ones that showed up, didn't act like they knew anything about the piano, listened to what my mom had to tell them. They would take the lesson, and then they would go home and practice the chords, and is it the chords or the scales? Not the chords, scales, right? They would practice the scales, and they would do the things that they need to do music-wise and drill it over and over again until they came back for the next lesson. And they didn't skip lessons. They didn't, I'm too busy to take the piano lesson this week, I'll put it off.
Yeah.
If you're like that, you're never going to learn the piano. Golf is no different. Show up to the lesson, pay close attention, listen to what the coach or the teacher has for you, and then go the next week, drill those things over and over and over again, come back to the lesson the next week, ready to build on what you're putting into practice. And do that with one person. Don't listen to 10 different people and take a bunch of different golf lessons. Find somebody you like. You get along personally with them. If they know what they're doing, teaching the golf swing, they can teach you to play this game. The other thing I told him is, if you do want to listen to somebody, listen to me or listen to Rob. Rob's great at this. We can teach you golf etiquette. We can teach you how to suck faster. I don't mind playing with somebody that's a terrible golfer as long as they keep it moving and understand the etiquette and keep pace. Yeah.
So you had said start with a lesson package. So you would say start there before you ever hit the course?
Yes. Yeah, I wouldn't go on the course for a while. I mean, I think you're on the driving range multiple times before you ever step foot on the course. And even when you step foot on the course, you're not keeping score. You're there just to enjoy it and hit some shots, keep it moving around there. Start learning the game, start learning the etiquette. I think it's silly to think that you're going to learn golf by just running out there on first tee and teeing it up and acting like you know what you're doing when you've never practiced. Again, people have done that. People have done it well. There's a lot of different ways to skin a cat is the phrase, right? But, you should, if you really want to be serious about learning to play the game, I would go to a trusted person and take a package of lessons and really take it serious.
Yeah. So is that just for someone that's particularly I want to get in and I want to be good, or someone that's just like, I just want to get out and play? Like, I've never played golf, but I want to get into golf. Would you still recommend starting with lessons? Or if you don't necessarily want to get great at golf. You just want to go play and hang out.
Yeah, if you want to I still recommend lessons. If you want to just go and play and hang out, which ultimately, isn't that what we're all doing anyway? Like, I mean,
that's true.
There's probably nobody listening to our podcast that's playing golf well, I take that back. There's a couple, right, that do play professionally and or aspire to play professionally.
Yeah.
And make it their career. But for 99.9% of people that ever tee it up, we're not teeing it up because this is a job. We're teeing it up because it's a passion and we have fun with it. And so we're all out there to have fun. But I still think if you've never played before, like how much better off would you be if you were able to have a teacher teach you the basic fundamentals so that you can actually go out and hit the ball on the golf course and make some progress. There's nothing more fun than hitting a pure golf shot.
Oh, it feels so good.
It does. It really does. Because there's very few things in sports that we can do the same exact thing that a professional can. Now we don't do it nearly consistently,
as
consistently, right, as they do. Most people will never hit it as far as a pro does off the tee. However, anybody that's ever played golf has made a 40-foot putt, and there's nothing more thrilling than making a 40-foot putt.
Yeah.
And even some really bad golfers have made holes in ones and, hit it out of the sand into the hole and, just crazy stuff that can happen, and you feel like, wow, I just did that. And you can play the same golf courses that the pros played. I mean, I just got done playing last Thursday at Pinehurst number 2, where Bryson DeChambeau won the U.S. Open last year. It takes your breath away just being out on the golf course saying, this is the hole where Rory hit it over the green and got himself into trouble. And a lot of us were going into the bunker shot, hitting the bunker shots from where Bryson hit his 54-yard bunker shot on 18. Like, you can do that. Like, that's what's so cool about golf.
And so basically, you're really just saying, treat it like a skill you're trying to develop, not just the game. Like, the game is great.
Game's great.
But if you're going to start right. Don't start with some bad habits, but start correctly.
Yeah.
And start working from there.
Because what most people do is they just start and they develop these bad habits, and then they're spending their whole life complaining that they're not getting any better. It's like, well, you're not going to get any better because your foundation sucks. Like, if the foundation's wrong, a house can't be built correctly.
Yeah.
So a golf swing can't be built on bad foundations. Honestly, the first lesson I ever had Phillips had nothing to do with my swing. It had everything to do with my posture. My posture was off. If my posture's off, there's no way that I can actually hit the golf ball correctly consistently. So fixing that posture has made my golf swing significantly more consistent just by that one lesson. It's a little tweak on how I approached the golf ball and how I stood.
Yeah, and for those people, we're talking about now advice for people getting into golf. You had mentioned come to you and Rob for etiquette. What are just some core etiquette things that people would need to know before they step out on a golf course?
Yeah, look, play a tee box that's appropriate for how far you hit the golf ball. If you hit there's a formula out there, I should know this. There's a formula out there based upon how far you hit a 5-iron, and that should equate to how many yards you should play a golf course from. But don't think it's because you hit it far that you have to play that tee box back there.
Yeah.
Go step up some tee boxes. Like, I played around on Sunday and Monday last week when we went to North Carolina. We went over to the Dormy Club. It was cold. The weather was bad. We're playing with a guy that didn't hit very far. We moved all the way up to the senior tees and played it from the senior tees. And that's fine. I mean, I couldn't hit driver in most of the holes. I'm hitting 5-iron off tees and stuff.
Yeah.
Golf's still fun from those tee boxes.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't play the U.S. Open tees at Pinehurst number 2.
Yeah.
I shot an 89 from the normal men's tees. I would have probably shot a 99 from the U.S. Open tees that day. Like, and it would not have been fun. Now, I would like to go do that sometime. I think it would be great, and I will at some point play the U.S. Open tees. But it just move up to a tee box, number 1, that's appropriate for you. And for most golfers starting out, go all the way up. Don't think, oh, it's the women's tees, I can't play there. That's nonsense. Like, it's the red tees or the forward tees, whatever it is. Play up there. You'll have more fun. You'll make some pars, and you'll find your golf ball, okay? You don't want to be sitting there where you're hitting driver 3-wood into par 4s. That's just not going to be a fun round of golf for you. Number 2, learn to just move on. Like, you're not playing in the U.S. Open. Don't take a bunch of practice swings. I see people just take 3 and 4 and 5 practice swings, and it's just nonsense. Like, get a routine. Your routine should not be long. The more you stand over the golf ball thinking about it, the worse you're probably going to hit it. Just get up there, hit it hard, chase it, hit it hard again. Like, just keep it moving. And then finally, just be aware of where people are on the golf course. And, you know, the big problem that most people have is just slow play. If you're out there away from the group, take multiple clubs if you need to, so that you don't have to go all the way back to the cart. Let your partner take the cart. Walk up to the green. Keep the game moving along, and you'll have a lot more fun, and the people playing with you will invite you back a lot more often.
Yeah, and you mentioned before when you were talking about them starting with lessons and then going and playing, you had said not keeping score.
Yeah,
for the first few rounds. I think that's something that will help people just in general enjoy the game more.
For sure.
If you're not, especially when you're just getting started. I have some friends that, like, I took my friend golfing. He hadn't hardly ever been golfing before. And he's out there keeping score, and he's out there hitting like 120, 130. I'm like, just stop.
Yeah.
Because they get all in their head. I'm like, just go out and just swing the club and hit the ball, get it in the hole, and then and keep going.
Most people, when they're starting out to play golf, and my son wanted to do this one time. We were playing in West Virginia, and he's like, I want to keep my score legitimately and play a round of golf.
Yeah.
It was a slow day. I'm like, okay, he shot like 132, right? I mean, and I was proud of him. Like, he kept a great attitude. He's hitting, and he hit some great shots. But, like, that's what most people are going to shoot. That's miserable, though, for everybody else in the group if you're keeping score to 132.
Yeah.
Like, if you are going to insist on keeping score, find a place where you're just going to pick up. Like, after 8, you're done on every hole or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with going out and playing. You remember, we're playing.
Yeah.
So if you're not any good yet, just go out and play. Hit some shots. And if the guys are keeping score, say, hey, that's great, guys. I'm going to hit some balls, keep it moving today. I just want to practice and learn the game more and be out here for the fun and fellowship.
Yeah.
Right? So hit a drive. If it's in the fairway, great. Hit a second shot. If you hit in the water, pick up, maybe throw one down on the green, putt, learn the etiquette, have fun, and just hit some great shots before, not everybody's ready to go out there with a pencil and a scorecard and log an 18-hole score. It's daunting, I think, for a brand new golfer to do that.
You gave a lot of tips and some explanation. To wrap up, run through just really quickly, bullet point. Hey, if you take anything away from this episode, this one right here.
Well, I mean, have fun. This should be fun. And there's a lot of different ways to learn to play golf. And so don't feel that there's just one way and one way only. There's a lot of different golf swings out there. There's a lot of different ways to get the ball in the hole. Like, that's the key. The key is not how pretty your golf swing is. The key is how many strokes does it take you to get it in the hole. But I think that oftentimes we grind way too much, have fun. And if you are going to grind, like I'm going to grind today, but I enjoy it. Like, practice to me is more fun sometimes than playing. There's nothing better than going out like on a Sunday afternoon, put my AirPods in and listen to a great podcast like Golf and Politics and practice golf, right? Do those kind of things. And so just have fun with it. And again, if you are wanting to get better, don't think that you're necessarily going to teach yourself. Find somebody that can give you the right foundations so that you can, build a good golf swing and be competitive out there on the golf course.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah.
Follow us on social media on Instagram and Facebook, Golf and Politics, at X, Golf Politics Pod.
Right.
TikTok, golf.politics. And then YouTube.
So it's not as easy as you make it out to be. But I mess that up sometimes. But you did a good job there.
Yeah,
but
I had to
you
really
still had to think about it.
I really had to stop and think about it.
Well, we appreciate everybody that listens. We really do.